All right. So today is August 5th, 2022, and oh gee, just turned just turned August 5th. But yeah, before I started this, it was August 4th, which is August 4th was AMC's earnings. Um, Regardless of how they did at their earnings, they did really well, and they carried over, I believe, a little bit of a loss. There's some stuff that they did because of their investment into Highcroft earlier this year. Um, they AMC issued a preferred equity dividend, and it's similar, but it's a little bit different than the way that GME did their split, which I never thought the GME split was going to initially cause the MOASS or leading up to, but it has definitely changed the way the ticker is, and it seems like GME's ticker, everything's being internalized, which means that it's just a ticking time bomb. It's an absolute disaster for short sellers. Um, the way that I've been reading, the way that this special dividend will work is if you read this press release and you read the filing, it's the mechanics that matter, and that's what I said about the GME's dividend. The mechanics, that's what matters. If you really read into this, it there are only 519 million so over much uh, of these uh, preferred or these special dividend or equity units that are made. Okay, ComputerShare is the transfer agent for these, and they are gone from ComputerShare directly to the shareholders that are the rightful shareholders of AMC stock. Okay, which are me and you. And if you went out in the open market and you bought the stock, and your broker will have to go to ComputerShare and say, hey, I have X number of shares on hand, that are in my books. If they have to show who their shareholders are, I don't know, but ComputerShare is going to have all that information for them to get the shares. Okay, and the way that these APE equity units will work is they are tied. Okay, so if I have one share of AMC in my brokerage account, that's still listed in the street name. Okay, but the street name doesn't matter at this point, because that APE equity unit is now tied to my share. So there's a couple of things that happen. It is now a share count is what they're doing. They're now creating a locate, okay? And the APE unit is also, I believe, going to be coded, will have metadata in it that is unique, okay? So these APE units now, they will not be able to go out and just make a bunch of them. Like if they use a hashing algorithm, there's 519 million individual unique hashing strings. Like say they use SHA-256 or whatever to create a 60-bit string that is embedded in that token or that equity unit that each broker will receive. That is a unique identifier for your share, and it will go wherever that share goes. If you sell the share in the open market, it is transferred with that share to the buyer on the day of settlement. Okay, so now we have a locate for all of the shares. I think that's what this really is. If you're short this stock now, you're screwed 10 ways from Sunday. I can't even begin to express how bad this is if you're short AMC stock now, because now you're going to have a locate with everything. I mean, this is going to completely revolutionize trading on any exchange, Nasdaq, New York Stock Exchange, for any stock exchange in America. Any company that does this will now have their own ability to locate and track their own shares, essentially. like, hey, I've only listed this much. This is what you get to trade with. There's no FTDs, fakes, all this other garbage. Because what's going to happen is say you're a prime broker that's got 50 million shares that you went out in the open market and bought. Okay. Let's say that now you have this big pool in your in available. I think Susquehanna, there's a couple others, and we know a bunch of institutions have shares. Okay, they were loaning them out. They were rehypothecating them, which means they're loaning them out over and over and over, which creates massive internal deficits. Okay, the deficit has to go somewhere. It's internal to all these brokers and whoever it is that loaned out these shares over and over again, hundreds of times. But now what's going to happen, in order for the brokers to actually have any voting rights, to actually get the shares, the APE, the APE equity unit, they're going to have to be like, oh, I've got 50 million or I've got 200 million shares. They're going to have to sweep away and either destroy all the FTDs, they're going to have to close them out, and I don't think that they can just delete them. It's not going to work that way, because everybody, that's a string transaction. Like, everybody is a witness to that. Okay? So now if this goes to like legal or some trial, it's going to be, oh, well, you sold this block of shares to that person, to that. I mean, this is a forensic nightmare now that AMC can now take to the DOJ if they wanted to, or in the SEC, and say, hey, we've gotten requests now for 3 billion equity units, and we only offered 520 something million of them. So yeah, they're not, if they don't, they're not going to be able to trade stuff that doesn't have an APE unit tied to it. Okay, because the APE unit is now tied to your stock, and that's the way I'm reading this. Is that's the way it's actually done, because you can't get an APE equity unit if you don't have a share. And if you're like, oh well, I've got all these shares, well, there's gonna, obviously, I don't think, some people are like, well, retail might get stuff. Like, the reality of fake shares is people just didn't settle. That's all it is. It's just shares that you were sold by a market maker who on the back end sold you shares he didn't have, which is called selling short. If you look at the transaction and you look at the way on the New York Stock Exchange, you look at the pillar binary protocol, okay? In that protocol is how they exchange shares, okay? It's all over TCP IP. On some of it is, which is why it's slow as crap. But that is, yeah, they're totally done. I just don't even. Sorry, a bit of a brain fart, but that pillar binary protocol is how they exchange and route shares over the New York Stock Exchange. Anytime you sell an APE or you sell an AMC share, the APE share will go with it. That's what I believe. And I would like to see that. We'll have to see the mechanics of that, but it's going to be able to track settlement. I mean, you're not going to have IOUs anymore in this ticker. I mean, it's going to bring this thing, literally, if you're short the stock, because the borrower has to pay the dividend to the lender, which means if you're short the stock, in order for the lender to get his APE equity unit, the borrower has to deliver a share. Okay, you don't have voting rights with FTDs or synthetics or however you want to name it. To me, it's just people did not settle. That's the real mechanics of it. They failed to settle, and that's a whole concept behind FTDs. They borrow shares to short and don't return them for eons, and this is going to delete all that. Um, I think a lot more companies are going to do this. I wouldn't be surprised if Highcroft, I wouldn't be surprised if Bed Bath and Beyond and a bunch of other people do this because it's so. This is like this is going to change everything. Uh, Either way, guys, let me know what you think. That's just my thoughts on it. If you really read in this press release, and I'll just keep this copied in there. Um, if you get mad that I use Robinhood, that's fine. I actually just use it for trading options because it's really easy. I have a bunch of other brokerages, and to be honest, I don't know. Never mind. I won't go there. But um, yeah, I am definitely excited for this, and I think that it's going to have a major game changer. I think they just anybody that's short AMC has just kind of been strapped to a lead anchor and thrown in the ocean. This is just, especially if you naked shorted the stock. I think this is manageable if you just straight up shorted it. You just return your shares because you have to return the shares now. There's no way around it. You can't pay a dividend. Okay, they can't go out and buy extra APE. I mean, just independently, it's tied to shares, and that's the mechanics of this that's so important. It is one APE for one share of AMC, and yes, there are clauses in here that they are convertible at a future date, but that is not today. And I think Adam Aaron did that because he knows that people might leave. I don't think I'll ever leave AMC. I just I like the stock. Either way, guys, it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and we'll see what happens. I'm excited. Thanks.